Making sales social is using the tools that exist in the world today, which tend to be social, which tend to be things like LinkedIn, to build professional relationships. Making sales social is making it easier to meet with prospects on a non-salesy plane.
Welcome to the Making Sales Social podcast, featuring the top voices in sales, marketing, and business. Join Bryn Tillman and me, Bob Woods, as we each bring you the best tips and strategies our guests are teaching their clients, so you can leverage them for your own virtual and social selling. Enjoy the show.
Welcome back to Making Sales Social. I am so excited about my guest today because he is not just an incredible marketer. He's my friend, and we know each other in person, and we actually met for the first time in person before LinkedIn. And his company was the company I turned to during the pandemic when I said, oh my God, I don't know how to market. I just know how to sell. So they have been an incredible vendor partner of ours, as well as someone I refer all the time. That said, we're going to talk about a little bit of a different offer that he has today and why it's there, and really the value that it's bringing, which is around fractional CMOs. So I am beyond excited. Raj Kapur is the CEO founder of And Marketing, and welcome to the show.
Thank you, Bryn. As I always say, I'm not only a partner, as you said, but I'm also one of your clients and customers. You teach me how to use LinkedIn. So it's very easy for me to talk about how wonderful our relationship is when it hits so many different points. So I'm so happy to be on again.
Oh, we're thrilled. And it's a whole other subject, which I'm very excited about for a couple of reasons. One of them is we work with, at least through our membership, primarily these small businesses. They know they're really smart at their business. They may even know how to sell, but very few, if any, know how to market. So they are constantly trading their time for prospecting and not leveraging the power of inbound traffic. And often it's because they don't have budget to have a full-time marketing person on staff. So I love what you're doing, and we'll lead up to that. But before I jump into those questions, we ask all of our guests, What does making sales social mean to you?
Sure. Well, the world has changed in the past decades, and I don't have to tell you that, Bryn, or probably tell your listeners because they already know. But to me, making sales social is using the tools that exist in the world today, which tend to be social, which tend to be things like LinkedIn, to build professional relationships. Making sales social is making it easier to meet with prospects on a non-salesy plane. The world is never going to change. We're never going to love meeting salespeople and being sold to. We're never going to love that. So how do you, as a salesperson or a marketing person, make that easier and more natural? It's by making sales social. So that's the best answer I can give you.
I love that. I love that. And the importance of marketing for sales is it earns you the right to get the conversation, right? And I think that's some of the most important opportunities there. I mean, you could cold call all day long, and if no one knows your value, they don't answer, they hang up, whatever that might be. But if you are intriguing them with insights and value, they want to talk to you. And so the power of marketing in a small business is under leveraged generally, and also underappreciated, because a lot of these small business owners don't know what they don't know. So let's just talk a little bit as we kind of get into that. What are some of the challenges these small companies face that having a fractional CMO could fix?
Sure. So we'll take a step back. What do most businesses who aren't at a large scale, let's call it middle market and lower, what are the common traits that they face? They're trying to build a brand, whether that's B2B or B2C. You're trying to build awareness of your company, your service, your product, whatever it is. You usually have limited resources. You usually have limited patience, right? We all have bosses, or if you're the boss, you have the lack of patience. You want to get things done quickly. And so what we find, so we've been in business for about 7 years, right? And so what we found in almost every situation where we were not successful is that there was something in the strategy that we didn't do correctly. And I always say this, strategy is something that's never going to go out of style, especially marketing strategy. What is marketing strategy? Marketing strategy is, who is my customer target? What are their problems? How do I solve them? What makes me unique? And how do I go where they hang out? Those are fundamental tools that are always going to be true. And whenever you try to skip steps because you're impatient, you don't have the resources, you don't have the knowledge on how to do that, it's because one of those fundamentals you failed to do. You don't know what makes your company unique. You don't know what the person's problem is. You don't get to the right decision maker. So the frustration that we had by expending so much energy to try to run programs for people that skipped over strategy resulted in us creating about 1.5 years ago, the fractional CMO practice. So what is a fractional CMO? It is a solution that says most of these companies that don't have the resources for a full-time marketing person can hire a fraction of a person at a fraction of their time, but they get their full brain for that time. So you might get somebody with 25, 30 years experience running marketing departments in your industry, but you don't have to pay for that full-time salary and benefits and all of those other things. That's the advantage of hiring a fractional CMO.
Yeah, that's amazing. So, and the whole point of that is it can grow into a world where you have enough business that you may end up hiring a full-time CMO down the road. But this allows you to scale without the risk of having a full-time employee. So I love that. But let's talk about the marketing challenges that these small businesses are facing that they don't even realize, whether it's the inbound brand awareness. You talked a little bit about that, but talk about those challenges and how marketing generally can fix that.
Yeah. So you can grow a business to a considerable size without marketing, right? It can absolutely happen. You can have an amazing salesperson. You can have an amazing technology. You can do everything correct other than marketing. But quite often, to break the ceiling, you actually have to take a couple of steps back and do the fundamentals correctly. Okay. So what are some of those things? Typically speaking, the answer is in like 4 areas. So number 1, it could be internal to your company. So you may not be communicating internally very well between your salespeople, your technology teams, your CEO, whoever that is in your particular organization. Understanding what the problem is, or let's say assuming what the answer is and jumping too many steps, that's usually a major issue in some companies. Number 2 is you've never looked outside in. So what a fractional CMO typically does is talks to your customers, and they don't believe the sales team because they want to hear it directly from customers. And if you have a complicated value chain, like you work through distributors or retailers or other people, they want to talk to the end users and they'll want to talk to the intermediary. So a distributor, why do you buy from us? Why do you not buy from us? How much do you buy? How much do you buy from our competitors? Who is your competitor? The third one is competition. Quite often, we either don't think about competitors the right way without marketing, or we just don't think about competitors at all. So really understanding, there's a term we use in the marketing world called your next best alternative. So it's not necessarily a direct competitor that does the same thing that you do in the same way. It's an alternative that they might do. And so if you're in the software industry, the best alternative to a software is Excel. Quite often, your next best alternative is your customers using Excel. So understanding how to make yourself come across as unique in the eyes of those competitors, direct or indirect, is a major part of it. And then the 4th thing we always do is a digital assessment. It is, let's say, shocking, but not so shocking when you've done it 100 times, how different companies reach different levels with different digital presences. So quite often having an outside expert come in and say, here's what's going well, here's what's not going well, and here's how we fix it is a extremely high value added item to really understand from an expert what that digital assessment could look like.
So that's great. And I don't think a business owner would have the time, resources, or energy to sit down and do that. But the ROI on getting that foundation has got to be enormous, right? There's so many missed opportunities based on people not even knowing you're out there. And number 1, but what you're saying is even your client base, like understanding the cross-sell, upsell opportunities in that as well, right? So Are you buying 20% of it from me? How do I get to 50? Right? Whatever that is.
Exactly.
So I love that you're finding through research, and I love that you're starting with, we call it social listening, but I love that you're starting with the research, right? So everything you're doing is based on real data, not just, hey, this sounds good. And so I think that that's really powerful and something that very few small businesses have the capacity to do on their own. So I think that's amazing. So let's talk about kind of some of the qualities that someone might look for, whether they're hiring. And I'll put this, if you're hiring a marketer or you're looking to do fractional marketing, what are some of the qualities that a small company should look for in their marketing person?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. So here's what I would say. No offense to anybody that I'm about to offend, so I don't mean this intentionally, but anybody with marketing experience that may be 25 years old and just purchased their new MacBook Pro can call themselves a fractional CMO, right? So it's very difficult to stand out. So what we have done, the number one piece of advice I would give the company is vet them exactly the same way you would vet a full-time employee. Now, it's not as large of a commitment because the money is a little bit less. It's not a full-time employee. You're not paying them as a W-2, all of those things, but certainly vet them the same way you would vet them. Okay. Most people think, oh, this is just a shorter term hire, and they don't do that. So that's number one. Make sure, number two, that they have the experience related to what you're trying to do. They should have already been down the path. And that's usually 2 criteria, but it's sometimes a little bit different. So business owners, your mileage may vary. Number one, that's industry related. So if you're launching a SaaS product and you're trying to get it from this level to this particular level, look for that trait in somebody. I've already grown a SaaS product to grow from here to here. And trust me, the talent is out there. So these are not too restrictive. Number two, it tends to be company stage, right? So it's first is industry and second is company stage. There's a big difference between getting whatever your 0 to 1 is, going from 0 to 1, 1 to 10, 10 to 100, and 100 to 1,000. Whatever your scale is, it's very different how you operate a marketing department in that. So you want to look for somebody who's done that. Okay. That said, we have a general rule for everybody in our community because, again, we do this as a service. We require at least 15 years of total experience, if not 20 or 25. Number two, that person has to have run a marketing department in a real company in real life. And then number three, they had to have spent significant time as a consultant, agency owner, or advisor. And what I find becomes the most powerful thing in a fractional executive is time on both sides of that table, right? They need to understand what it's like to live in the company and live what it's like. And then they need to understand what it's like to be an outside provider of resources to them. So we have 55 fractional CMOs in our community, and all of them meet that basic criteria, in addition to having expertise in particular industries and company stages. So I would say that's the advice I would give to one of your listeners who may be thinking about hiring a fractional executive.
Oh, that's great. And it's interesting because I think what you said is that there's enough pool of people out there that have that experience.
Oh, yeah.
As a business owner, you may think, well, I can hire a 25-year-old full-time for $55,000 a year. And if I were to hire this CMO, it would be $200,000 a year. But for $55,000 a year, you could get that fractional CMO who's going to be much faster at producing. You're going to get way more than a full-time person fractionally when you've had that kind of experience.
It's a very common trap. We talk to people all the time about it. So let's be really clear. Sometimes you need execution done and you need more hours that a fractional CMO could never do. So it is sometimes the correct decision to hire that full-time person internally and quote unquote save money. Absolutely. Sometimes that results in more of a mess because here's what happens. You hire somebody more junior who seems a little bit less expensive, but if you, number one, don't have a strategy in place, then that person tends to flounder. And where do they go? Number two, they're coming to you, Mr. Business Owner, and asking you what to work on, how to do it, and where to do it. If you hire a true fractional CMO with a lot of experience, that person should be telling you what to do, not asking you what to work on. And that's the real difference between working with seasoned professionals versus junior employees. But let's be really clear. If you have a strategy, your business is not changing that much, and you're really confident in the things that need to be done, then go do it. That's fine. Go hire a junior level person. A fractional CMO is not a great fit for a lot of people because sometimes those expectations are misaligned. So if you're open to having somebody outside literally telling you what to go do, I've been down this path. Here are the things to avoid. Please do this. Don't do this. Those are some of the traits we look for in potentially good prospects.
I'm going to go one level deeper on that expectation. So what are some of the common expectations your clients have when they're looking for a CMO that are aligned with success and misaligned with success?
Absolutely. Well, I'll tell you, I'll start with the negative because those are certainly the easier ones to get to. So number one is they think a fractional CMO can come in a few weeks and fix everything, right? We have clients of considerable size and considerable complexity. So you may be going through a brand change. You might be trying to fix your inbound marketing funnels. You might be trying to do lead generation. Every time you add a layer of complexity to it, maybe you have a certain size, maybe you have regulatory challenges in your business. That just means that the fractional CMO needs to figure out the problem a bit longer. So I would say number one challenge we face is when they expect too much too fast. You also have to remember that somebody's fractional. A typical fractional engagement is 1 to 1.5 days per week. So if you get somebody for a month at 1 to 1.5 days a week, 2 months in, they've only really worked the equivalent of like 2 weeks, right? As a full-time employee. So expectations also need to be set with the duration of the time. I'd say the times where it works best on the other side of the coin are when expectations are super clear on what success looks like. You cannot have nebulous success, just like in any job, in any function, especially think about sales. You deal with a lot of salespeople, right? As long as you have enough time to build the strategy, build it the right way, build a scorecard, and then be able to have enough time to go through those scorecard materials the right way. Sometimes companies need brand awareness. Sometimes they need leads in the door. Sometimes they need a new website, depending on what you need. The other thing I would think about is what is the level of change that's either going on inside your company or in your marketplace. In this age that we live in today, we are in dynamic marketplaces. Things are changing very quickly. You can give a fractional marketing leader the responsibility of understanding how our company needs to respond to the outside marketplace. Usually in smaller businesses, this only falls on the shoulders of the CEO, right? So now it's a matter of giving that responsibility to somebody else that says, in the 3 to 5 year time frame, how do we adjust our products and offerings to meet the needs of what customers are going to need in the longer term? That's not something people think about quite often. They think, oh, it's marketing. I want a better ROI or I want more leads. But there's actually a longer horizon that you can expect from your marketing leader.
So I love that. And I'm going to throw in the whole AI conversation into this, right? So when you're looking ahead, and one of the things we really are trying to do is make sure that we are at the leading edge of AI for social selling, for content, for posts, right? And that we're teaching people how to get the most out of AI, even when it comes to coming up with ideas for content, right? So when you've got 55 fractional CMOs that are working under AM Marketing, which is absolutely phenomenal in a year and a half, by the way. And how are you ensuring or encouraging or nurturing the AI shifts in marketing? Absolutely. Go ahead. No. It's absolutely the right question. So I would say marketing people that aren't at least thinking about AI are significantly behind because the tools are everywhere. They're extremely easy to use. So the number one thing we're doing for our community, so we have two parts to our business. One is we help our fractional CMOs get more projects. And second of all, we help them while they're on those projects. So almost on a weekly basis, not as much as your community, but in our community of 55, we have a very active Slack channel and we have regular community hours, tips, tools, trainings, and templates. The one that I'm most proud of is that we have a marketing AI expert, and it's not just somebody who says they're an expert on LinkedIn. They are actually an exited marketing agency owner, a former strategy consultant, and they run a consultancy that helps marketing departments adopt AI. So this is this person's world, and they are truly an expert. They are a speaker, a regular speaker in our community, and every single month they share a latest tool or tip,
a way to do a marketing role better or faster. And then they always leave time for questions and answers. So when our fractionals come into our community, they're all different levels. I want to brand our community as being so AI forward that they can introduce those efficiencies to the teams that they're in. When I think about AI and marketing, there's really 3 levels that I think about. And I don't know, I'd love your feedback on this, Bryn. So kind of like the floor level for AI to me is basic efficiency. So it can do the thing faster, and it could do it at about the same quality that I can do it, right? So once you get good and you teach ChatGPT or whichever your platform of choice is, I can do it faster. Just good job, I can just do it faster. The second level is what I call insights. So its ability to think like I think at a higher level is unparalleled. And I don't think more than 25% of users are actually using it for that. It's how do you help it think a little bit higher? And then there's this third level that blows my mind every time. And I think this is like the 1 to 2%. What this level is how can I use AI to think at a level that I didn't even think of? And I'll give you a great example of it in marketing, right? So recently we were reviewing a survey of customers for a particular client, and we would use Facebook, Instagram, email, all these different ways to get this survey completed. And there was like 500 of them. And then we had a product and they were trying the product. How did you like it? How did you not like it? And I typed into ChatGPT. I said, please analyze this. I took out all the sensitive information, all that stuff, right? And it gave me really good insights. Then I said, please review it and give me some, I think the wording that I used were unusual or unexpected analyses from your work, or however I phrased it. I think I tried it two or three different ways. Then it started giving me correlations and causations from the spreadsheet that I would have never thought to have done the calculation. So for example, it said, did you know in your survey that anybody who filled this survey out from Instagram has a 3 times higher likelihood of liking the product? That's not something I would have originally asked it because it figured it out itself. So it's this extra.
You didn't know what to ask, and it actually helped you to identify data inside of your data set, or how to analyze the data inside your data set even better.
Yeah, and Bryn, we're friends, so I'm pretty confident in my own abilities, right? This was a layer that was just like, I've been doing this for 20 years. I didn't even think to do that calculation. It automatically did a bunch of these apparently and came back with the ones that I thought were most interesting. So I took that back to my client and I said, guys, let's look at what we're doing fundamentally different on Instagram in that example to figure out, are we messaging it differently? Are we hitting different customers? Is our demographics different? It forced us to ask a whole nother slew of questions that was unparalleled, right? So these sorts of examples, I want our community of fractional CMOs to be so far ahead that when the AI revolution, which is taking us over right now, when it comes to the marketing world, there's a guy, Sam Altman, he's the CEO of OpenAI. Everybody's heard of Sam Altman, right? About a month ago, he was quoted as saying that in about 10 years, 95% of marketing agency work is going to be done with AI, right? You have a choice if you're in the marketing.
I think it'll be sooner than that. I'm going to give it 5.
So let's pretend, Bryn, that it doesn't matter if he's right on the percentage or the duration. Let's just say he's directionally, because we can argue specifics all day long, right?
No.
Maybe it doesn't matter, right? So let's just pretend he's directionally correct. You have a choice. Number 1, you can fight him. Or number 2, you can get on board. So if you're going to fight him, good luck. You probably don't belong in our community. You're not a forward-looking fractional CMO, and good luck to you. Or you can sort of say, okay, if that's what the future looks like, I want everybody in my sphere to be ahead on this trend, to understand it. I liken it to this. Bryn, you're very young, but you might remember 1996, right? So in 1996, there was a group of marketers.
I had a 6-year-old in 1996.
Yeah, there you go.
I'm not young, but thank you.
The math doesn't work there. No, I'm just kidding. So in 1996, there was a group of marketers that said, hey, this internet thing is really popular and I think it's going to take over. And then there's another group of marketers that were arguing about the font size that they're using inside magazine ads or billboards. And history has just don't be one and be the other, right? So like, this is the way the future is going to be. And we are choosing to have our people be ahead on that trend.
So Bob Woods put out a post. He quoted someone. I just looked it up on the side. Nancy Henson from creativitybusiness.com. I don't even know who it is, but I love this quote. In my speaking on creativity and AI, my advice is figure out how AI may replace you, then shift and level up.
That's it.
And it's like, okay, this is where it's going to replace me. And now you make the shift and go to the next level. And I would look at that as, how am I, before it's like, can I hire someone to outsource this work in some cases, right? But in some of it now, it's like, well, this is part of my outsource work. So the CMOs are leveraging this. By the way, when you are buying a fractional CMO and they're using AI, you're getting way more of their time.
Absolutely. Absolutely. That should be one of your hiring criteria. Do you use AI? How are you training yourself on AI? That would be a base question. At this day and age, that would be a base question that I would ask. I'll give you another quote that I love to use. AI is not going to replace you, but the person who does your job, insert your title, the person who does your job with AI, that person's going to replace you.
Oh.
AI won't replace you, but the person who's using in your job with AI, that person's going to replace you. It's true.
You be the person that does your job with AI and replace someone else.
Yeah, well, maybe, yeah, but at least don't get replaced by somebody who's using AI. That's not going to happen.
Right. That's amazing. Oh, I love that. I love that.
I wish I knew who said it, because it wasn't me, but it struck me when you said that quote earlier.
So I have two more questions.
Sure.
My last question is, how important is it to know, when you bring in a CMO, like the niche market or who you're going after, and how does the CMO help you to figure out the right niche market if you don't know it?
So you're talking about, how important is it to have a CMO with that niche market experience, or the CMO that's going to help you figure out the problem? Tell me just.
So let's start with figure out the problem.
Yeah. So I would say,
you figure out where, like, I can go into and teach, Fortune 1000 companies, in my sales training, and I could go in and we have a $97 a month program. And so who am I going after? Where am I putting my marketing spend? Where's the biggest ROI? What niche should we go after?
Well, actually, maybe they're both the same. In the context that you're asking the question, I think they're both the same. Here's what I would say. Industry experience doesn't matter for a really good marketer until it matters, and then that's all that matters. And here's what I mean by that, right? So I'll pick 2 or 3 industries. Healthcare and consumer packaged goods are the ones that just come to mind the fastest. Healthcare has so much nuance in terms of channels to market, payment, and regulatory and insurance, that if a marketer doesn't understand that and they're coming into a very thorny problem, you don't want to teach them that if they're fractional. You want somebody who's already got that experience, that's going to bring it in and hit the ground running and probably teach you a few things as well. The other example is consumer packaged goods, right? You can never convince me that a senior level marketer with great B2B experience can come in and tell you how retail channels work, how Walmart works, how Whole Foods work. I mean, those companies are such big influencers in that industry. Understanding how channels work is just critically important, right? So when you're trying to do a specific something in your business, look for a fractional CMO with that exact experience that's already been down that path. Okay. Now, if it's not one of those industries, and maybe fintech is also similar because there's a lot of regulatory. If it's not that, then you just look for generally transferable skills. Again, I'll go back to who has already been down the path and helped you grow from wherever to wherever, and how can you best do that? So that's probably the best advice I would give you.
And can that CMO help you find your niche or
but that's their job, right? So I'm sorry. Yeah. So that was the second part. I apologize. So their job is to help you figure out where your customers are. And if you've tried things, maybe what didn't work. So they'll go back and do a historical analysis of what campaigns you run, what worked, what didn't work. Right. And then through some sort of an assessment, they can figure out what tweaks to pull and where to go. That's exactly what their typical job is.
I love this. So my last question is, what question did I not ask you that I should have?
Oh, I get you one. So typically I get asked the question about what's the difference between a fractional CMO and a marketing consultant. So I've done both jobs, right? So what's the difference? Why is this different than what we've already typically talked about? So I would say maybe about 20% it's the same. It's just semantics and it really doesn't matter. But 80% it's different because of one simple thing. A consultant, by definition, is at arm's length away from the company, right? You are hiring this person to do a job and they report into you. A fractional CMO should feel like a member of the C-suite. They belong there. They're in your meetings. They're in the weeds with you for a longer period of time. You don't hire a consultant for a long period of time. You hire a consultant so they can do their job, bring their expertise, and go. And so sometimes I'll get into a conversation with our fractional CMOs or our prospects. Are you really looking for a consultant, or are you looking for a fractional CMO? And sometimes we will take on consulting assignments. We will say, come in for 3 or 6 months, do this job, do this project, and then get the heck out of there. And that's absolutely okay. But the nuance there, I think, matters quite a bit at how the company views the entire engagement and their investment.
I love that. That's fabulous. Well, I think you are filling an incredible gap in the marketplace. You're doing it in a way that makes high level, high end, high quality marketing accessible for small businesses that didn't think they could have that. And so I think it's absolutely fantastic. So how can a small business or mid-sized business owner that's looking to explore whether consulting or a fractional CMO is right for them? How can they
absolutely. So I'm not too hard to find because I'm your student, right? So I'm all over LinkedIn. So it's very easy to find. I'm sure you'll put a link to my stuff, or you can just Google my name and I pop up pretty quickly on LinkedIn. So that's the best way. I'm happy to take a DM. Just when you're DMing me, please do what Bryn says and remind me that you heard her through there, because I also get a lot of spam and I filter through it. So please remind them that you introduced us. That would be great. And then number 2, you're welcome to go to our website. That's and-marketing.com, and-marketing.com. And I would love to hear from some people. It'd be awesome to have conversations. And just to be clear, even if you're not sure if you need a fractional CMO, if you're sort of fractional curious, I'm very happy to talk to people, because quite often they think they want a fractional CMO and they really don't. And I'll be able to redirect them in the right direction. So always.
Hashtag fractional curious. So great. Raj, I love the impact that you're having for small businesses. And that's truly it's the impact, right? You're allowing businesses to grow faster than they ever could have before this fractional option was out there. So thank you. So everyone that's listening, thank you for coming. I am sure you had some great mic drop moments, as I did today. Make sure you reach out to Raj. And when you are out and about, don't forget to make your sales social. Bye, guys.
Thanks, Bryn.
Thanks for watching, and join us again for more special guest instructors bringing you marketing, sales training, and social selling strategies that will set you apart. Hit the subscribe button below to get the latest episodes from the Making Sales Social podcast. Give this video a thumbs up and comment down below on what you want to hear from us next. You can also listen to us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and Google Play. Visit our website, socialsaleslink.com, for more information.